Welcome back to the Navy Sports Magazine. Time to talk a little offshore sailing. One of my guys from Virginia Beach, the home of Independence Boulevard, all the great things down there in the Virginia Beach area. Jake Kiggans joins us. And Jake, for you and your sailing mates right now, just the fact that you're sailing and doing things and you've had as close to a full training regimen this spring as you possibly can. What's that been like based on the way the last couple of years have gone?
Oh yeah. Well, firstly, I really just want to say thank you so much for having me on here. It's really awesome to be able to be here with you guys. But in regards to this spring, I mean, it's phenomenal. My plebe year, we didn't have a training regimen just because we all went home, and then over the summer, we really tried to get the best of what we could with a lot of local regattas and staying within the local op area. So we really didn't venture out at all. But then last year was kind of a modification of that. We had masks, kind of still went through the motions with the training, but obviously we didn't get 100% of what we could accomplish because various regattas were canceled. The Marblehead to Halifax regatta, which is one of our larger regattas, was canceled last year. So there was a lot of kind of modifications, but this year with the full kind of schedule and lineup that we have for the races for the summer, it's really been really solid to have a solid racing lineup that we can prep for. We know which races that we're doing. We know what we're going into. So we're able to kind of modify our training plan, whether that's our classroom sessions at the beginning, and that's understanding the weather models, understanding strategy for these races that we know that we're going to do, as well as understanding how long we're going to be underway and what specifically we need to train for physically to be able to do out there on the water. And then moving into the underwater practice, we can understand, again, what kind of races, if it's a buoy onshore race that we're doing, or if it's a long distance offshore race. We've really tailored our training regimen this season to be able to meet that, as opposed to previous years where it's really just been kind of a general baseline of skills that we can then apply to whatever races that they're going to have us doing. But this year, it's really been nice to understand the full long-term schedule that we're able to prep and train for.
What have the physical challenges been like building up to this? Because as you said, you really didn't have much to go by the last couple of years, but what's the training been like, especially physically, for the great demands that this sport has to offer?
Really physically, a lot of it is definitely my favorite part of sailing. I would say is definitely the physical mental balance, because when you're out there for multiple days and nights, it really begins to hit you mentally, and as well kind of taxes on your body. So a lot of the training that we do physically is really just more of like an endurance kind of thing, because for hours on end you could be sitting just kind of on the rail, putting your weight into proper place or trimming a sail or something, but then boom, we need to do a sail change, and you need to pull that like 200-pound sail back on deck when the boat's rocking, and you need to be able to have the endurance to be able to do that. So a lot of the kind of stuff that we do in the gym, a lot of the kind of stuff that we do outside of that with the training plans, it definitely tailors more towards that. But with these distance races, it is very hard to be able to train physically for that. And it's not like a specific sport such as running where there's obviously something specific that we can train for. It's really just overall fitness and being able to prepare yourself mentally to be able to do that for multiple days on end. That's really where the beauty of our sport is being able to have that mindset where you can go into that. You can understand that I'm not sure when I'm going to need to put out. I'm not sure what the next watch section is going to hold, but whatever it is, I know I'm going to be ready to go with that. And a lot of that is planning as well, in regards to getting the proper amount of food, keeping your body just in a proper state so that you're able to do these things while you're underway as well. And that just comes from planning before, not as much training.
Who have been some of the leaders? And I know obviously with graduation just happening, who've been some of the people that have been great influences and really helped you all stay focused within, your sailing center there as you guys really ramp back up now to a full sense of schedule, and obviously great events that they're even coming up here in just a few days?
I mean, really, the class of 22, leaving us off, they've had it tough, throughout their time here with COVID summers, and last summer wasn't the same, and now this summer they're giving us all their knowledge to be able to move forward. And some of the thing that happens to sailing is a lot of times we have sailors that aren't able to do block. We have big changes. For example, this summer I was supposed to be on a different boat than I was, but my boat's engine didn't come in time. So there was a maintenance issue that caused us to splinter off into two smaller boats. And in that situation, the class of 22, our previous team captain, they really stood up and gave up their basket leave to be able to kind of stick with the team. So throughout all these difficult periods of time, class 22 has really stepped up to be able to be there. And that's absolutely not to say that the coaching staff has done the same as well. they absolutely put out behind the scenes, and all the different people that work up in the offshore sailing office. They really work out all these different logistics so that we're able to go perform the way that we do. So it's really the behind the scene people that we really have to be thankful for. Class 22 absolutely for leading the mid side, but with all these different challenges that we face, the coaching office really just takes the bullet for us with all these things that we can't see that are going on, and they've done a great job of that. And we've been able to so far have a smooth season to be set up for all these races that we're going into.
Obviously, from down at Virginia Beach, you're familiar with the Atlantic Ocean. The challenges, whether it be sailing up around Martha's Vineyard or upcoming Annapolis to Bermuda, just what challenges does sailing the Atlantic bring to you as someone who has to lead the way here and get a crew ready to go sailing?
Well, something that actually just came in this morning. So today is our first day to train and prepare our boats for block. Is there's a new storm system that's forming in the Gulf of Mexico that's probably going to make its way up the coast and is expected to be in our race area by Monday. And that's supposed to be either a tropical storm or a Category 1 hurricane. So this is really just kind of the things that we prepare for with looking at different various weather models and seeing where these storm systems are going to be. Because once you get out in the Atlantic, right off the coast is the Gulf Stream, and that's just brings a whole bunch of unpredictable weather with the warm water that it brings up the coast. So these are all just little aspects that we have to prepare for. But the Annapolis to Bermuda race is the longest race on the East Coast. So it comprises of multiple parts, which is the bay, the strategy that's in the bay, which is just inherently just completely complex, whether it's completely dead and you're riding the currents or there's some sort of low pressure system that's coming through, you have to stay on top of that. And then after that, looking into the Atlantic Ocean, some people say it's a straight shot, but ultimately there are various eddies, Gulf Streams, different weather systems that you can navigate in order to get there quicker. So that's really just something that I'm thinking about right now, looking at weather models that are a week in advance, when I don't even know where we'd be on the race. That's something that us as sailors need to have in the back of our minds, that we need to be able to navigate and to find the best winds that we'll be able to get the best advantage over our opponents, because putting your boat in the right spot with the right winds is ultimately the best thing that you can do in order to win races.
This is such an extraordinary sport. It's not like you can get out in the middle of the Atlantic and just call timeout and take everybody to shore and regroup and things of that nature. But what is it about this sport that gravitated you toward it? And obviously now finding yourself excelling at a place that takes this particular sport very seriously here and has had tremendous sailors here in the past, in the footsteps that you're following in right now.
Well, growing up, living in Virginia Beach, it was all about the water. I sailed the smaller boats, so I was a dinghy sailor growing up. Would always go to the beach, would always go surf, all these different things, just culminating my love for the water. But ultimately, when I got to the Naval Academy and I discovered, I was initially kind of drawn towards the dinghy team because that was kind of what I'd done before. But when I heard kind of about offshore and what that offered, the sailing offshore for days on end with a small boat, with a small crew, that there's just some kind of appeal of adventure to be able to do that. I mean, there's just being out in the open ocean. It's indescribable. It's something that I would recommend to every single person that I meet. It just being able to be out there self-sufficiently, independently, and being able to compete in these races on top of that, that's really such a complex task. And especially, those feelings of getting in, like last year we did the Around Long Island race, which is one of our longer distance races. And we were out there and a couple of different storms came through. And, when you're looking up at the top of the waves, and you're fighting the storms, that's kind of what's in the back of my mind when I'm sitting in nav class, during in the fall. It's all these memories that I have of these adventures that you go on, and you're really scared of those moments. You don't know what's going to happen. You hope that you have the preparation, but ultimately at the end of the day, that call of adventure, that call to sea, I feel like that's kind of a shared thing here at the Naval Academy. But that's really something that drew me to the sport and something that I'm looking forward to doing more this summer.
Composure is something that necessarily can't be taught. It has to be developed. And as you mentioned, just talking about potential storms you'll face next week and obviously sailing in other storms, how do you keep composure in a situation like that? What's the key for you to being able to kind of decelerate what can be a high accelerant moment?
One of my favorite quotes, I think, that has to do with this is, if you can't beat the fear, just do it scared. with all these different things, if you're getting up on deck, you're putting on your clothes, you're getting on your foul weather gear, your tech vest, and you're going up and, you look back and you see them looking up at the top of the waves. And there's obviously these different plebes that are on the boat who maybe some of them haven't sailed before. Maybe some of them aren't as experienced, but if I'm getting on deck and I'm the watch captain, you just gotta just get fired up. I mean, there's really nothing else you can do. Like you can't sit in the back and be scared. You can't just like act like you don't know what you're doing. Like even if maybe it's not 100% the right call, as long as you make a call, that's really at the end of the day what they're going to follow, and will give them confidence and empower them in their decisions. So for me, at least, it's just faking it till you make it. And I feel like if there's not a single person out there who's going to tell you differently. If you're getting up there and you're claiming you're not scared in the middle of a storm, you're dead wrong. But you just gotta fake it, and then eventually you'll get things under control. You'll put up the right sails. You'll get yourself into a configuration where you can compete. So that's really what's in the front of my mind, is being able to compete and keeping that composure, and then ultimately that composure spreads. Especially, I mean, as with any leadership position, however the leader kind of assumes their mindset and their persona, the rest of the crew will assume that. So that's what's always in the back of my mind, thinking about my crew, thinking about the competition that we're in, and kind of separating myself from the inherent danger that comes with the sport.
Jake, fantastic stuff. Appreciate the time. Best of luck to you and your crew as you guys embark to Bermuda coming up next week. Congratulations on a great year, and best of luck sailing to Bermuda.
Thank you so much, Mr. Medhurst. I really appreciate it. It's been awesome.